Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tiny Classroom Training Live. We're thrilled to have you here as we embark on enhancing your professional skills. This session focuses on how would you know at the end of the year if you've been effective? Please feel free to ask questions in the chat as our coaches Don Zalou and Artie Nathan will be answering some as we move along. Let me pass the microphone to our esteemed coaches who will guide us through today's session. Artie and Don, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Juan. Hey, Don, how you doing today?
Good, I'm good. And how are you, my esteemed friend Artie?
Oh, I'm well. Well, just had Thanksgiving. It was a great time, and here
Ah,
we are between Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays. So we'll do we'll do this. I think, Don, this will be the last one for the year.
I think for the year we'll get launched again early on in January.
Yeah, but I think this is a fitting
Mm.
close for 2024 because in our practice, our consulting practice, we deal a lot with the subject of effectiveness. And Don always asks, he said, look, the key here is how would you know at the end of the year if you've been effective? And it's a question that nobody can answer. I mean, he asked me this question years ago when we first started, and I couldn't answer it. I mean, you think you know what you're doing or you've got it laid out well enough, but most people don't. So we're going to talk about that today because this is a good way to stop this year and set us up for next year. So, Don, where are we going with this?
Well, let's go back to the question I love to ask. How would you know at the end of the year you've been effective? And the reason that people often can't answer it, sometimes we get snarky answers like, well, my paycheck still clears or my desk is still there. But the point is we don't tend as people, certainly in business very often, to say, what are my objectives? And so the first step in this really is to set some clear metrics or some clear objectives. And an objective isn't real, as you know, Artie, unless it's got a way to measure it and a by when. It's got to have a what, by when. How the heck am I going to know? And so our clear metrics are really focusing on the future in the year of what my goals and my idea and my plans are for the year. And that's very, very important. And it gives us a chance to assess our progress and our performance by the end of the year as well. What's next? What would be the next thing,
Well,
Artie?
you got to be careful when you set objectives. They're not hard and fast rules. These are things that are they're guidelines as you're moving through the year. But I think you have to analyze them regularly throughout the year, not just at the end of the year. But you know, you want to keep comparing things to your original goals. You want to look at the circumstances as things change. And in business, while we think we're here to stop things from changing, they don't. They just keep changing. And so, you know, revenue and profit margins, those are going up and down. And if you're close, that's good. But if you're not, you've got to realign things. Customer metrics, how many you acquire or retain or satisfy. I mean, those are numbers that people they try to get and you try to stay on track. But those and productivity even. I mean, all of these things have to be updated throughout the year.
And that's simply the roadmap, if you will, to achieving those objectives. And we want to reflect throughout the year on our achievements. How are we doing against the plan to achieve the objective? And what are the challenges? And how do we adjust throughout the year? We run into a roadblock. Instead of just standing there staring at it, we say, how can I get around it? Or what can I do differently in order to continue to achieve or to pursue that objective that I have in mind? And we document these things along the way. In fact, you and I have developed an approach to setting an objective and its measurement method and then its plan. And that little one piece of paper or entry on your computer screen is a great way to roadmap your way to achievement.
And you're right. But that roadmap has to be, I guess, balanced against feedback that you get throughout the year.
Yes, it does.
Collecting it from your peers, your boss for certain, and your peers and the people that are working for you, and even your customers. And if you get direct input from others, then those will provide insights that you may want to look at, or you may choose to overlook them. But if you have formal surveys or feedback loops or performance reviews or even informal discussions to understand how your work has impacted others and how it's proceeding. That type of thing will help you to say, do I keep this goal? Do I amend this goal? Or do I even get rid of it?
That's very good points, and we want continually throughout the year. And most managers will have multiple goals in multiple categories that sort of make up the context or the basic format of their position, what their position is responsible for. We call it a job effectiveness description. And when we set objectives, we want to have a process where we regularly, maybe we meet with our boss or our subordinates, and maybe once a month even look at progress against the annual goal. How am I doing so far this month, the next month, and so on. So we don't want to wait till the end. We want to be able to sort of course adjust and do more, do less as we move through the year. So it's a very important thing to measure against your goals in a disciplined kind of way.
And we're talking about goals. We talk about financial goals, we talk about customer metrics, we talk about productivity. Those are the big ticket items. But you've also got to look at your personal growth and your skill development. How are you doing? Not just how is the business doing, but uh, if you reflect a little bit on how I'm doing or what were my goals in the beginning. I'm in this position. I'd like to be in another position, or I need to know more about something else so I can be better in my position. If you're not also monitoring those things, you're not personally as effective as you might be. And talk to your boss, uh, talk to your peers who are out there in the same boat, and see what they're thinking and what they're planning. And this is why continuous learning is so important, because that helps for continuous improvement, both personally and in the business.
But the continuous improvement is a really important point, and it helps us to also sort of assess our impact. How am I doing? What am I affecting in the broader spectrum of my work? Am I contributing to my team's success? Have I improved any processes? Am I creating positive change for customers or for my peers or for my boss or the people who report to me? It's a constant process of saying, how am I doing? What was the effect of that? What could I do differently?
And that's all about quantitative evidence. But I think there's qualitative evidence that, the anecdotal stuff, the stories that you hear, and spend time getting out on the floor and listening to people, talking to people, asking them what they think. During my career, we had a couple of things in the gaming business. Every night somebody was visiting every table in every restaurant, talking to customers and saying, how do you like our restaurant? We rode the elevators all the time, because you got people locked in an elevator with you and you say, hey, I work here, I'm one of the managers, how do you like our place? Or you stand in the buffet line, any long line, or the people waiting for valet, they're leaving, so how was your experience? And those are the kinds of stories that you collect. And you collect the same things from employees. What are you guys doing, service wise? What's the feedback that you get from customers or the experience that you have? And I think you have to learn to blend that qualitative stuff with the quantitative stuff. Otherwise, I don't think, Don, you have a big enough or holistic enough picture.
I think you're absolutely right. And, too often a manager, especially often senior managers will sit in their desk and watch the numbers and one of the things that you laughed at when we first did it, but now it really resonates well is I've had CEOs ask, well, after we train them in effectiveness issues and so on, well, what should I do? And for a long time, I said to them, well, that's really easy. Get rid of your desk. Right? And they look at you like you're crazy. But when you explain to it that you cannot be managing your organization by sitting behind your desk, there's some things appropriate for that. But get out, walk the floor, as Artie just said. Go to different branches of your organization, talk to people, get a feel for it. And so that's all part of that process that you brought up nicely.
You know, one of the big things today is a dashboard. I've got to have a dashboard on my computer, a dashboard that collects and displays the key data, key KPIs. But as Don said, that's just part of the picture. You're not going to know enough if you're just looking at numbers. The people part of your business is the biggest part of your business. And when you get a feel for that, then you'll get a better feel for whether or not your business has been effective, you personally have been effective, your employees have been effective. Because at the end of the day, it's about customer experience. It's about quality and customer satisfaction. And that's not all. I mean, Glassdoor and all those things that collect that kind of data is not nearly as good as you talking to people. So if you want to be effective, set up the KPIs. That's good. Give a program a chance to start giving you the quantitative information, and then get up, as Don says, get out of your office and look at the qualitative stuff.
That's absolutely critically important. So, if you want to really review your performance, how will I know at the end of the year I've been effective? You got to combine objective metrics. You got to combine the qualitative reviews that we're talking about. You got to ask the stakeholders sometimes of the business or of the larger picture, how are we doing? How are we doing against what you want? How are you doing? How are we doing against what our plan is, and so on and so forth. So it's a constant learning, constant curiosity with an end in mind, I guess is what we're talking about today, isn't it, Artie?
Yes, it is. And what we've been talking about all year, frankly, is the management skills, the things that you can use to be more effective. Communications and coaching and handling difficult conversations, managing a multi-generational workforce. As we end this year, reflect back on these things. Go back through the library because we post it and it's there all the time, and listen to these things again, and do your own thinking. Use these same topics to talk with your teams. And next year, Don and I are going to talk about how you can be more effective as a manager, and the things that you need to do. And we're going to invite guests next year, aren't we, Don? I think that's our plan.
That's going to be fun. It's always interesting and intriguing. And some of our guests will be from Europe, and some from Canada, and some from Australia, and some from here in the U.S. So we want to bring in also a kind of global response to the same questions, which will make it very, very enjoyable. So maybe as we end this year and today, ask yourself how do I know how I did this year, and how do I plan to do next year, and how will I know? Ask yourself those key questions, and it really helps to reset your head a little bit.
Well, it's been a great year. We hope you all have a wonderful and a healthy and a happy holiday season. And Juan, thank you for helping us manage these all year long. Don, it's been a pleasure. And we all look forward to seeing everyone back here next year.
That's wonderful, and sort of Ibid on Artie's wishes. And Juan is the wonderful voice that started us off here today. I'm not sure you can see him, but he's a really cool kid with a big head of hair. So have a happy holiday. We'll see you all.